Again. Oh gosh, I'm still not very kempt. Is that a word? Kempt? Oh well. Hopefully, you'll stay for the quality of the novel writing rather than my presentation, which is not great. But I'm a writer, what can I say? An artist. Can you see my shirt, by the way? Let me see if I can stand up a little. No, wait, I'm going to angle the laptop lid down. You see that? BoucherCon Nashville 2024, Murder and Mayhem in Music City. I was not able to attend that particular BoucherCon, but I bought this at the BoucherCon I was able to go to, which was this year, 2025, right here in New Orleans. And I got to say, that was the best thing I've ever done. I have never enjoyed anything more than going to 5 days, I think it was 5 days, a convention with novelists, other crime novelists, people in the publishing biz, writers, readers were there. It was just wonderful. I loved the presentations. They had panel discussions by other writers explaining their craft of writing and where they draw their ideas from, and perhaps their own experience of maybe, legal stuff or police procedural stuff, or some folks knew about espionage. Amazing, fabulous, fascinating, talented people with a wealth of experience. And it couldn't go on long enough for me. I was trying to just grab every tiny bit of information. It's the first time I've been to a literary convention, I think. I don't think I've ever been to that kind of event before. One thing and another, I had hoped to go to the Golden Crown Literary Society annual LesFic conferences in the past. Just wasn't able to get there, what with work commitments and family. So I hope I can attend my first ever one of those next year, 2026, when it takes place in Florida. I really hope so. Let's see. I believe it starts on my birthday, so that would be a good present to myself. But without further ado, so when I was at BoucherCon, I was telling folks there this year that I was going to write this book, and now it's done. I hope some of them are going to tune in and listen. We're going to do chapter 9 and 10, I think, now. So chapter 9 is called Thanksgiving. It's November 2024, and Ophelia is going to open up a little and give us some thoughts about what's going on in her life. She has this to say. I'm feeling lonely in my new home. I grew accustomed to thinking of myself as recently bereaved, but I'm shocked to realize that Wayne died over 5 years ago. What am I waiting for? My life staying still will not bring him back. So I decide I will put together a Friendsgiving meal this year. I resolved to do something about my isolation when things had come to a head during the summer, the season of hurricanes. There was a day when I lost power and Wi-Fi for a few hours. The neighbors were all out of town escaping the heat. I felt isolated. The experience underlined the fact that I had no one nearby I could walk my little boys to and feel safe. I hate it when there's no Wi-Fi in our house. I find myself endlessly refreshing the pages of social media on my phone, but there is no one there. It makes home feel not unsafe exactly. That sounds too dramatic. It makes home feel like a temporary sort of holiday cottage, as if real home is elsewhere. I'm just going to check that I do have the microphone turned up so that you can hear this. I'll actually ask folks whether or not you can. Oh yeah, it's turned up to a good level. So Ophelia is saying, it makes home feel like a temporary sort of holiday cottage, as if real home is elsewhere. And it rather took the sparkle off this magical country of famous people. It didn't make sense that things could go wrong in America. I remember vividly how it felt to lose power in a swampy bayou storm. I journaled about it. I hear the thunder on the horizon. It is not dark yet, but later it will be, and very hot from the lack of AC. I have a lantern-style flashlight with new batteries. That is something. It can be a little scary being alone in the hot, dark night. I have been learning about how little children learn to self-soothe. It seems to describe the way I must manage my own anxiety to be strong for my sons. They have no one else. They are counting on me. There are times when I spiral. Moving to a new country is an incredible privilege, but if I think about it the wrong way, I can suddenly overwhelm myself. If I remember how far I am from anything I know well, I panic. I am learning that when my fear and stress reaches fever pitch, I can look around for 5 objects that are blue, 5 things that are red, and so on. I have to relax my stomach, which I tend to clench. And so as soon as the summer season is over, when a lot of folks in New Orleans return to the city after their vacations, I plan a little project to have a friend group. Once everyone is back, I will make friends with Sunflower and Astrid. Cindy knows them both. I suppose that I should include Cindy, despite our history. That still upsets me if I think about it too much. If I become close enough with these girls, I will tell them my entire backstory, I decide. The truth is, Wayne had been under enormous pressure before he died, and he had really scared me. Wayne and his father's death, well, that is a story for another time. The whole grieving process for his father that he had gone through seemed to have destroyed Wayne's mental health. Wayne, the love of my life, the head of my little family's household, had chosen to hire some local kids to kidnap me and pretend that they were going to kill me. I could never have reconciled with Wayne after that happened. I only saw him once more after that in the law courts on Poydras while I was pregnant with Mo. My father's firm of attorneys had flown out to New Orleans and taken care of everything. Custody of Banksy for me and a restraining order for Wayne to ensure he was not allowed to come near us. He had been babbling about an airplane crash that had never happened, and then in 2020 he had been killed in a motorcycle accident, just like his father before him. I had been numb by the time Wayne died. I do mourn my fiancé, but really I had lost him some time before when his grip on reality had loosened, and I had needed therapy and Valium to get me over the trauma of the staged kidnapping. It was the most terrifying thing I have ever experienced. I still sometimes get anxious if something reminds me of that horrendous 72 hours at the hands of those cynical teenagers. My therapist, Jill, describes that as being triggered. I don't know all the buzzwords, only that there are times when I go through a full-on panic attack and do not quite know where I am. I also sometimes feel confused about what happened to me, not just during that nightmare orchestrated by Wayne. It may not have been my fault, or maybe it was, but some of my time with him had amounted to abuse, and it would take time for me to process it. I still have a horror of an unexpected knocking on the door, or the thought of being locked in somewhere against my will. I like to think I am managing pretty well to raise my 2 boys alone, considering everything I've been through. My parents try to insist that the 3 of us return to England where they can protect us, but I am standing firm. I choose to accentuate the positive. My shocking experiences have been merely stones in the road, and New Orleans is my home now. Visiting Swinton is so strange, the sleepy suburban village in England where I grew up and met Wayne. Last Christmas I realised that England is no longer my country. Me and the boys flew to see my parents for 6 days. We all managed a trip to see the festive lights, decorations and window displays of the department stores of Oxford Street. We got hot cocoa and went to an arts market that had a magical sleigh ride for the boys. Of course, it was lovely to see Mum and Dad, who adore their grandsons. Still jet-lagged and heartbroken, though, a part of me was asking the question, why did we even come back? In a way, I didn't feel we were really there. It felt like a dream. So I threw myself into the visit and cherished hanging out with my family and Swinton friends, knowing that I will never go back there again. I am grateful to be settled in my new home in New Orleans, the United States. So much the Americans took from Britain and improved in this bigger, hotter, richer, healthier, wealthier place. I have a double stroller for Banksy and Mo. I'm incredibly grateful to our neighbours. My father likes to send me money, which I recognize makes me one of the most privileged people in New Orleans. So I ask him for the lowest amount I can possibly make work. I can just about afford food, and for the boys to go to a local creche for 3 mornings a week, giving them new friends and play activities. It is walkable, and we all enjoy the sunshine on the way there and back in our baseball caps. It's difficult for me to even talk about the horrors of what I lived through. Miss Julie already knows everything. I would like to open up to my new friends in this country, and I hope Astrid and Sunflower will understand. I hope that when I tell them that my late fiancé and the father of my children was violent and insane, they will not think that I must have done something to deserve his behavior. Cindy knows a little. It might seem crazy, but the reason Cindy is in my life at all is because Wayne had an affair with her. It is perhaps testament to female friendships that we are now fairly close, but there is a certain tension at times. I resolved to forgive everything, mostly because Cindy had helped out with taking care of Banksy, and he now clearly adores her. I felt it just wouldn't be fair to break up a little friendship that my son has managed to forge in this strange country. If Cindy wants to have a dig at me, it is about the baby weight that I've still not managed to shift. Being pregnant twice in the last 5 years has expanded my stomach into a wobbly spare tire and given me thicker thighs. The shape and size of my new mom body doesn't dismay me, perhaps because I've always been a little fat, and Wayne had never had any complaints about that. These days I understand the term is thick, and it is having a moment of being in fashion. So a low-cal diet and joining a gym is not really on my to-do list, but if Cindy is ever feeling bitchy, that is where she will go. Thanksgiving comes and I invite them all to my house. I love to see them, my new girlfriends. Sunflower arrives early, bringing a heavy tray of mac and cheese. I asked all the visitors to bring sides. I took care of the turkey, roasting a smoked breast in the oven with some British roast potatoes. Before long, Astrid joins us with the cornbread dressing and the gravy. Eventually, Cindy gets there. She has made us sweet potatoes. She has put melted marshmallow fluff on the top and pecans. So good. Oh, I didn't think you would be eating this, she tells me pointedly. I also brought a salad for you. I bite my tongue, trying to see the humour in the situation. Well, that salad looks wonderful too. You're very kind. We sit to eat. The girls tell me that we should each come up with something we're particularly giving thanks for. We go around the table, making our heartfelt little speeches. When it is my turn, I say, I'm so thankful for this country and for American people. I want to fit in, so I observe you all, and now I do as you do. I make like a local. I read my Bible and I pray. And now I am smiling like you. Life is really good in this enormous country with its good food, golden sunshine and wide skies. The girls seem to be laughing fondly at the awkward way I put it. Only Cindy is looking like a mean girl. When I am piling my plate high with more of the turkey I roasted, Cindy makes a point of staring at my thighs. It's a difficult situation. I feel stung by her implied criticism. It is starting to make me feel self-conscious. Though I do say so myself, this turkey is really good, I begin. The other girls seem to be waiting for Cindy to react to this. It is almost as if they will agree with whatever she has to say. Who put her in charge of our nice Thanksgiving meal? Cindy starts to say something with a fake sweet voice. You know, we don't have to have those desserts, she smiles. Why don't we all just have a coffee instead and go for a walk now? I try to carry on with confidence. Oh, but the desserts are the best bit. I made a chocolate pecan pie with a homemade crust, and I bought us ice cream. Cindy pulls a face of mock concern. A lot of sugar, baby, she whispers. That is what Wayne used to say to my boys, and Cindy knows it. Not content with telling me to my face that I need to lose weight, now this slimy serpent is reminding me that she had an affair with Wayne, and that he shared private tender moments with our sons with her too. It is the last straw. I have just about had it with you, I yell. I didn't mean to go off on her right at the Thanksgiving table, but she just knows how to push my buttons. I find myself ranting about a lot of things I have been bottling up. Listen, Cindy, why can't we connect about anything else? Why do you keep making those mean comments about my figure? I am in a bigger body, yes. And don't pretend that you are concerned about my health. You are not a doctor, and what is more, you are not my doctor. You don't have access to my charts. For your information, I have been told that I am strong and my blood pressure is good. Why would you spend so much of the time we have together focusing on my size and shape? Oh wow, this is so rude, Cindy hisses, and it seems that Sunflower and Astrid are on her side. You don't got to be that way, baby, Sunflower is soothing me, while holding tiny Cindy by the shoulders as if she is the victim. We was just being honest. I should shut up and keep the peace, I tell myself, but somehow I can't stop now I have started. You know, there are actual problems I am worried about that I would like to discuss. I would appreciate your input on my finances. I have so little money and I can't keep asking my family back home. I want a job, but I don't know how to get the right employment paperwork for a Brit in this country. My mental health is still really not great after an abusive relationship I went through with the father of my children. Why don't you ask me about something important? I hope they will understand, but instead their take-home message is that this crazy Brit bitch with the weird accent that sets her apart is complaining about being here. They make their excuses and leave, all three of them together. In tears, I sit at my table, alone again. My boys are sleeping soundly and I have no one to hold me. How did it all go so wrong? How did I let one girl take my group from me? Why did I behave so out of character? After that day, they do a lot together, Cindy and Astrid and Sunflower. They bond over being bitchy to me. They would invite me along at the last minute to some of their group activities, and being lonely, I swallow my pride and still would attend. Cindy increasingly was passive-aggressive, making sure to look startled whenever she was near me. Cindy is very petite, and I notice I am starting to feel huge alongside her. I have never struggled with body image before. I don't even want to look like Cindy. I had felt very comfortable in my old skin, my own skin. And yet now that Cindy has forced the issue, it somehow has left me feeling very self-conscious with all of my new circle of friends. I already was a fish out of water in a new country where everything is slightly different. I begin to lack confidence in my accent that sticks out like a sore thumb. I try to say less, to keep quiet and to blend in instead of saying what I think. And so this group of female friends that I set up come round to see me and the boys less often. I hear that they have started to meet at Cindy's house. I am not invited. I am sad about it, but I try to surrender my life to God's plan. I had so wanted those girls to be my support network, but it seemed that they were easily manipulated by one bully. Perhaps that meant that they were not my people after all. I could invite Astrid and Sunflower to my house and purposely exclude Cindy, but I am just not that person. I can't be mean in revenge, even when it is thoroughly deserved. Miss Julie is always by my side, and that is a blessing. I think it is at times like this when I really miss Wayne. He had this drive and hunger that made him incredibly sure of himself. I want to know the way he would have seen all this. He used to say, when you have been poor, you fear becoming poor again in the future, no matter how rich you become. Every morning you wake and wonder, is today the day they take it all away from me? As well as Miss Julie, Estelle is also a good friend. I have taken the boys over to Estelle's trailer to watch her cats. As Estelle has moved from a bigger house, where the community kitties were able to go outside and hunt on the vacant lot next door, her cats are now a little bit fractious. They seem to be fighting with each other more often, now that they are in the double-wide trailer where the door always has to be kept closed to keep them inside where it is safer for them. They tear the place up, especially at night. There's coyotes in Louisiana, I find myself explaining in the to the cats when I go one night to feed them. Even a rougarou I heard. So you guys all need to stay inside here. I feel a pang when I see photos of my group of friends that I organised all out together with me not invited. I resolve not to look at social media. It is too easy to feel isolated without that pressure as well. Julie always had wise guidance for me. Think about it this way, child. That girl slept with your man, so she was always bound to feel a little jealous of you. You are beautiful. For all we know, your Wayne might have told her that she was too skinny and he preferred you. That might explain why she is being so hateful now. In any case, it's him that's created this situation, pitting you two girls against each other. He made you both fight over him to make himself feel like the big man. I pray that the right people will gravitate towards me in time, but I do wish that these other girls would recognize how difficult it is for me to make friends and not be so quick to abandon me. Next, we move on to chapter 10, which is called Addictions. This is still November 2024. The next person that Charles needs to interview is Astrid. Their paths had crossed before. She had had many run-ins with the law, a local girl, still only quite young, but addiction issues had pushed her into a lot of petty theft from stores and sex work. Astrid is incredibly beautiful, however, she seems unable to hold down a job. She was a flake even before she got addicted to various things that cost a lot of money. That morning, Charles helps her into his office on Poydras, holding open the splintery wooden door so she wouldn't snag her clothes. As ever, she is dressed as if she is just about to begin pole dancing. Incredibly high stiletto heels, the kind that force you to tiptoe along. Her long and muscular legs go on forever. She must be at least 6 foot tall. Her skirt is short and made entirely of midnight blue sequins, which are dropping off and shedding all over the floor. He hands her a black coffee and a cigarette. My usual, she giggles. It is true, he has had to interview her several times before, and she has always sweetly asked him for a coffee and a cigarette to help her get through it. The first time he had to question young Astrid, one of her clients had complained that she had stolen his watch and wallet after. After what? Charles had asked the man. After they had done whatever services the client had paid her for. Charles had arrested the man as soon as he had admitted that he had used her as a sex worker. Astrid is barely 20 years old, and you look 60 if you're a day. You should be ashamed of yourself, Charles had told him. But he had brought Astrid in anyway to ask her about the alleged robbery. He did not approve of crime, even when born of necessity. Astrid, how many times do I have to tell you to go home to your mum and dad? Charles groans. They would take care of you and get you into rehab again. I got myself off everything, Astrid brags. No, you did not. I can see from the way you can hardly stay awake that you are using right this second. You can't just stop using by yourself like that. You need help from professionals. And if you would only go back to your parents' house where you are safe. Do you like living with those other homeless folks under the I-10? When she had been a child, everyone had just assumed that Astrid was a girl. Long hair, slender with a high-pitched voice. She always wanted to wear girls' clothes. It had seemed natural to her that she would get breast augmentation and all the rest, but she had had to battle her parents on it. My parents did name me Charles. Astrid is adamant. She drags hard on her cigarette, making the ash crackle. I cannot go back to their house. It feels like I'm getting attacked every time I hear them refer to me that way. You don't know how painful it is. That's true. I do not know how that makes you feel, Charles agrees. I can't imagine that is easy for you. He decides to try a different tack. And are you still working on Bourbon Street? Wanda got me into her stripping gig. Stripping? Charles is having trouble imagining Astrid remembering any kind of routine or moving gracefully to music. Yeah, I have a stage name now. You'll love it. Fat Tuesday. Or the Big Easy. She's laughing so hard that the coffee is coming out of her nose. Or do you think I should go with something to do with my name, Astrid? Someone said I should make a pun out of that somehow. Astride, maybe? Charles ignores her rambling about her stripper name. Are you managing to get your medication, living unhoused? Charles asks her. A member of his team quietly swings around the office door, bringing another coffee, then sliding out so as not to interrupt. I am, antidepressants and my progesterone. Charles gets down to the questioning about his murder inquiry. I wanted to ask you about this party of Miss Julie's. You know the guy who said he was Miss Julie's brother has since been found dead in a hotel room. Oh, sure, the cops detained us all when they found him, she says, those of us who were still there. So he hadn't left the party when he was found, which was, Charles checks his notes, 7. He was found dead by a member of hotel staff around 7 the next morning. If you say so, she's smiling. I was having a ball. I remember that the sun had come up over the hot tin bar, such a beautiful view. Okay, Charles makes notes while staring at her for any trace of a lie. And you were all still in the bar at this point, still drinking. Spare me the lecture. Someone else was buying, so yes, I was drinking all night. We must have had 10 bottles of champagne and plenty of cocktails too. All on Miss Julie's dime? She said she wanted to celebrate with her friends and neighbours. She had been so fortunate and she wanted to give back to New Orleans. We were not about to argue. Who else stayed up that late, he asks her. I'm guessing some of the guests left the party before 7 the next day. You're right. Now let me think. Astrid drains the coffee and begins feeling around for another cigarette. Hold on. Charles doesn't smoke, so he has to go and find a co-worker who will spot him a cigarette to assist with questioning. Blanche on the front desk gives him a pack. You can give me a ride home and we'll get some more at the gas station on the way, she tells him. Sounds good. When Charles goes back into the small office he is using to question Astrid, he can see from the look on her face that she has stolen something. He gives her one of the cigarettes and helps her to light it. Then when she is happily puffing away, he holds out a hand to her. Give it back. Give what back? My cig? Get out of here. Not the cig, whatever it is of mine you've just put into your purse. You can't just accuse me like that with no evidence. I know my rights. But you have taken something, haven't you? Look at me. She stares him down, furious. Fine, he says, calling her bluff. No more smoking until you give it back. She fishes in her purse and hands back his car keys that he hadn't even realized he had left out on the desk, along with a whiteboard marker that he uses to write up information onto the wipe-off planner behind her head. Charles waves the marker at Astrid. Why would you even want this? I don't. It's the principle, isn't it? Back to the matter at hand, he tries to smile a little and to relax. He does not want her to feel that she can rattle him. It would make her feel she was the one in control, and that in the past had led to some very volatile consequences. You were telling me who left the party at what time? She blows smoke out of her nostrils as she tries to recall. Roosevelt was the first to leave, the guy who died, I mean. He was gone after the first few canapes. What time was that? Not as late as 9, 8:30 perhaps. Who was the next to leave? Ophelia. She wanted to get home to the kids. Cindy was watching them and Ophelia was itching to go check on them. Next, Sunflower, and I think from memory that Wanda and Estelle were getting a ride home with her, so the three of them went at the same time. This was after we had had dinner, about 10 o'clock. Charles is writing all this down. So you must have stayed up drinking with Emmanuel Peters and Sol, and who else? Oh, I forgot that young pastor, Innocent, he left pretty early too. He doesn't drink. I think he went right after Roosevelt had retired to his room. Innocent said something like duty calls because he had to be fresh in the morning for the sermons and whatever he does at the church service. Go on, who was next to leave the table, do you think? Astrid pauses, getting a lollipop out of her purse with a flourish, a bit like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat. She puts the cherry-coloured round sweet into her mouth and is pulling on the stick through her lips flirtatiously. You know what, I just thought of something. What? Charles hollers. You want to change the order again? I already had to move the list around once. You remembered about Innocent. This is a murder investigation. Astrid, concentrate. All right, keep your hair on. I was just remembering that old superstition about 13 people at dinner, you know? No? The old folks say that if you have 13 people all eating dinner together, the first one to rise and leave the table will die. Ooh, how creepy. Roosevelt was the first one to leave the table, wasn't he? So the prophecy has come true. Charles tries not to roll his eyes. He decides to use this as an in. Okay, Astrid, you like that witchy stuff? Tell me more. Oh, baby, I could talk about that all day long. I love it, and I have absorbed all sorts of information. For example, the number 13 is very significant, you know. If you want to stop the Rougarou from coming into your house and eating everybody, you are supposed to leave 13 beans out on the window ledge. The story goes that the Rougarou will only be able to count the first 12 beans. We'll get confused and then we'll get stuck counting them over and over. That way he will never be able to come inside. So 13 is a magical number. In that case it is. Astrid had started to fall forward almost imperceptibly. She rights herself and snaps awake. Oh God, Charles groans. Astrid, you took something while I was gone, didn't you? No. Look at you, you're a mess. You can hardly keep your eyes open. He slams his notebook shut. I don't want you leaving this building until I've been able to question you fully. You can sleep it off in one of our cells. You can't keep me here. I'm not under arrest. I haven't done anything. Astrid pulls her phone out of her bag and attempts to video Charles, swaying as she does so. Come on, once you've slept for an hour or so, I'll get the canteen to make you a hot meal. Then we can resume this interview in the afternoon. Charles has a sort of room he can make use of with bunk beds and a water cooler. It is not a prison cell. He seems to recall it was at one time used as a sort of sanatorium in case of illness amongst his co-workers. It is basic and tired, but a safe space for her to relax. Astrid lies down on her side. Remember, the bathroom is just down the hall on your left. I'll get someone to check on you in a little while, but she's already asleep. As Charles leaves her to it, he shakes his head as he recalls that she attends Tulane, working on a doctorate in astrophysics. Despite constantly being on the cusp of being kicked out due to low attendance, she would show up and be a straight-A student when she was there. Extraordinary brain, and perhaps that was her problem. So intelligent that she found regular life boring and always needed to be shaking things up. Well, that's the end of that chapter. So in the next segment, which I think I'll come on and do tonight if I can, I'll do chapter 11, which is called Rougarou, and then I'll also do chapter 12 if they're not too long. Fabulous. See you soon. It's getting exciting. Still no closer to finding out who the murderer was.